It has been some craziness the last few days. I don't know if anybody else has been like feeling the energy that's been happening in Utah. For me, I'm in Utah, but the full moon and it's an eclipse, and with everything that's going on in the world, it's one of those like highest of highs, lowest of lows that you can hit, but it's okay to hit those. I've just been realizing and paying attention to a lot of things and taking some reflection time. And I'm seeing all of the people not wanting to pay attention to certain things, trying to stay positive or preach positive, and then, you know, there is one thing that everybody should just understand and like think about for a minute. We can't hide from bad things. Knowledge is power. Anybody that hides, that is being reactive when a situation happens instead of proactive. For me, knowledge, being proactive, I can create a plan. I can look into things. I have choices. I choose if I'm being proactive. Reactive, I'm at the mercy of somebody else's narrative, somebody else's story. So if everybody would just breathe for a minute and let's look at a few things. If we talk about perspective, anybody that wants to come and try and change my perspective because I dig and I find evidence, come to me with evidence, not rationalizations, not because you watched it on the news, not because you read one article. I want you to dig deeper into the pieces of what you're talking about. If you know actuals, don't just get riled up from one post that you saw, one article that you read, one book that you read, one movie you watched. Dig into it more, then have an opinion. Just like if you're buying a new car, I learn about the vehicle that I want. That's how you like pros and cons, pick and choose. So if we're doing that, we dig into it a little bit to have an opinion. So please, people, do that. We're not sheeps, we're lions. Instead of like lashing out at somebody for an opinion, let's think. Let's think. Why is yours different? Do you have evidence of that? If you have evidence, share it. Show them. Have an honest conversation. No daggers needed. No daggers. So, sorry, my foot is asleep and it's driving me crazy. It just amazes me how we can choose our opinions and who we are based upon one or two things, and we never dig deeper. It's usually like in passing something that we're watching or reading or whatever, and people will get so stuck on it because it just sounds crazy. Guess what? My whole life sounds crazy. I don't know if anybody knows my whole life, but I will tell you everything in my life, no one would have ever guessed, believed, planned, like even thought possible. So I believe in the impossible. That has always, everything has always sounded crazy. So don't give up on something that sounds crazy. Everything that has ever been invented, anything that has ever been accomplished most of the time, even like the 4-minute mile, you've probably heard that story. Nobody can do anything and everybody thinks it's impossible until it's done. As soon as it's done, people in their head shift. It's like an on switch. Now it's not impossible, somebody else did it. But the people that actually go and fight to break that limit, those are the people that are always going to be called crazy. They're always going to be the ones that are also changing the motherfucking world. They are the ones that create cars. They're the ones who have created everything from a light bulb and electricity, that have found stuff. They had to be okay failing one, because it usually never happens on the first time. failing. It's number one. They have to be okay with that. They also have to be okay losing everybody around them and being called freaking crazy. And then thinking they're crazy. So they have to rebuild their dream over and over again when they feel crazy to keep going. Those are the people in our history, even now. Think of the things that you've probably heard that sound crazy. The light bulb was crazy, electricity was crazy, a car was crazy, a plane was insane. A Q-tip. Think of a Q-tip. How simple, stupid and simple is a Q-tip? And somebody probably got told they were crazy and then made millions and changed the world with a freaking Q-tip. So can we stop thinking all of this crap is crazy and expand your brains to think of every time in history the crazy has changed our world? That just means our perspective has not been big enough. And it's not your fault. But you can dig a little deeper to know how to fix it. Because the world is amazing. If you see it as endless possibilities, as long as you put your work into it, it's endless possibilities. As long as you're willing to be crazy and fight for it. But you have to have an opinion to do it. We have been taught to not speak our truth. We have been taught to not rock the boat, to not shine in a group. That's the whole thing about, remember peer pressure though? One person stands up and says, I don't want to do drugs or drink. Usually other people got up with them. Other people don't know how to speak up right now. People don't know how to come from love while they're trying to share their opinion because they've found evidence. If people were sharing love and evidence right now, everybody would have a little bit different perspective. Because if you think of it, I saw a huge ray of hope to see, because for me, I was always taught by this lovely coach named Caprice that there's certain levels of emotions. So people that don't speak up get walked on, all of it, like sheep, numb, that kind of thing. Then you have anger, where it just bubbles up and you can't handle it anymore. When you finally have that, at least it's action. At least it's action. You're doing something. You're bursting from being a sheep and being walked on to having anger. That is an emotion and that is an action, but then it is easily changed to be able to shift into a higher vibing kind of emotion. So for me, it was a ton of hope to see that the United States had fake news hit and they shifted our narrative that we were wanting us to focus on. So it shifted our narrative to be angry. We had 2 months worth of energy built up of anger and everything else that's been happening in people's lives, and they shifted the narrative to anger, something that people want to change but don't know how. So they got to go and exude all of and project and take action on all of their built up energy that they have had for this corona, lockdown, quarantine, whatever you have gone through. That's where all the anger and passion and everything came from. But it went and hit every state. It went and hit a riot at every capital. They also don't show you that there was 36 peaceful riots. You only saw the fake news that had burning cars and demolished businesses and horrible things that didn't need to happen. But they're focusing on that. I'm focusing on, look at how fast emotion and community and banding together spread by a video and in a few days. But think of what it could be if it was actually coming from love and a message of some kind that was able to spread like that to all the states. And instead of 36, have everybody band together in love and truth and wanting change. that actually inspired me. So I know that change is possible. I know that solutions, simple solutions, because anytime somebody wants to confuse you to need, want, or have to have something, they'll make it confusing. So then we just give up, surrender, and let them like take on the process, and we just trust that it's so complicated. There's so many things in this world that have been made so complicated and needing so many pieces to the puzzle that make the next person money in the like pipeline that's not needed. So on this full moon, peoples, I would dare you to think about what area you've been reacting in your life. What area of your life have you just been reacting, not being proactive and being reactive? What area and what item, what thing have you been not wanting to have an open mind to? What have you not dug into and asked yourself questions about that doesn't make sense, and actually dig deeper than just a post or a news report or one area? Dig in for yourself. Teach yourself. Come up with your own opinion, your own perspective, because everybody's got to make a choice. Everybody's got to decide what they believe, what they want this world to look like, what isn't fair, what they have seen unjust, what laws don't make sense, all of those things. If everybody had an opinion in a healthy way, mind you, everybody had an opinion and they talked about it, do you think how many more massive changes we could have in this world versus shutting down, sitting it out, and because it's so complicated and I am not important enough that my voice, my opinion doesn't matter? The only way anything ever changes in this world is because it becomes the squeaky wheel. It becomes the thing that needs to be addressed. It becomes the thing that you can't go anywhere without people talking about it. That is when everything around us will slowly have to start shifting, changing, and growing and adjusting and breaking to be rebuilt, because it's not working anymore, and it's very loud that it's not working anymore. You can't hide the fact of it anymore. That is how things change. That is how we take our power back and change it to the world that it's supposed to be. I don't know. I've always been the believe everybody can, help each other, love each other, all of that, have boundaries. It's just kind of like fine-tuned over the last while. But I just know, especially here in Utah, it is hard for people to speak their truth. We were taught to not. You were always keeping up with the Joneses. You were never embarrassing your parents and telling things that would shame them or whatever. So that meant everybody has been going down their roads alone, unless they have one or two friends or something to share with. But they don't have communities supporting them. They don't have a tribe to do you, me, and community like sacred geometry. Two sets of eyes is always better. You don't get lost in your own head. You don't get lost in your own crazy. You don't get lost in the bad self-talk. And if you do, you still have someone that knows it and won't shame you, won't judge you because they're a safe person, and they are able to help pull you out. So I just felt the need to ask everybody to open up our perspectives, open up possibilities, open up to being okay, listening to and researching into and digging into your own crazy. Because remember, the crazy things are what have built this world. They had to lose people, they had to lose funding, they had to get fired. Whatever invention it was, I dare you to try and see the easy path they had to create it. They had to be told they were crazy. They had to lose people they cared about. They had to be willing to jump off the cliff by themselves because they believed in it so much. What in your life do you believe in so much that would build you up, your family, the community? What do you believe in so much that you're willing to fight for it? Be called crazy for it. What is that for you? Because everybody's meant to have stuff like that. Everybody's meant to have a passion, a purpose, a belief, something that is meant to help others, but it builds you up along the process. I challenge everybody, especially on full moon, that's what it's for, is purging out the old and deciding what you want to be new in your world. What is not working for you that you want to say, screw you, see you, bye? Dig into it, feel it to heal it. You got to feel it to heal it. If you don't sit in it and you want to have a drink, as soon as that energy comes up, it's like a freaking mountain. So if you're stopping it when you start feeling it, because that's what people do, we numb it, then it's got to go all the way back down. And then it's going to come up again another day. And you got to numb it again and go down. If we would just feel it, we would actually hit that peak, understand it a little bit more, grieve it, whatever it is, to have us come down the other side, a new person in that area. But we weren't taught that. We're meant to learn, love, and grow together. We're meant to climb mountains and move mountains together by people speaking who they are, not shaming ourselves, which means we won't shame others, because we know that we're all perfectly imperfect. We're all screwing up and thriving all in the same times. And you can't do one without the other. So if you're climbing your mountain, you probably failed a million times to get there. So don't blame somebody else for not being perfect enough. Hear them, see them, remember that you are a mirror to them. If we judge ourselves, we're definitely judging others. So first, stop judging yourself. Feed yourself knowledge and power. Feed yourself love so that you can give it. I don't know, just wishful thinking and hope that I've always lived off of. So maybe I thought I should just spread a little bit of it. So go find that fiery, whatever passion you're willing to be crazy for. I've found mine a few times and they're always amazing and they always change the world. I challenge you to change your world with your gift. Go find it. What is your passion, your purpose? Remind children to dream. It's not a bad thing, it's amazing, because you can't reach for something without a map. So dream big. I'm okay dreaming big and even failing and meeting halfway, because that's still better than most people even can dream in their heads. So happy strawberry full moon to everybody. Open your minds, find your passions, and give yourself some grace through these crazy days that we have in this wonderful thing called life. Love you all. Bye.